Hello, everyone. Today is Monday, so April 11th. Yes. So I am recording this lecture for the chapter 13. Okay, chapter 13 is about pricing decisions and profitability and cost management. So the learning objectives. So first, we are going to talk about all the factors that may affect the pricing decisions. And then we're going to compare the short run and the long run pricing decisions. We mostly focus on the long run pricing decisions, which means the decision-making window is more than 1 year. And then we want to talk about different approaches for pricing product. So we talk about target costing approach. We talked about cost plus approach. And last, we are introducing the life cycle budgeting and costing. Okay, pricing strategies. So the first one we are talking about is the target pricing. So just by the name, literally, target means you set up a target price, okay? So what do you want, what do you hope the price of the product to be? Basically, this product service, the price really depending on the customer, depending on the competitor, okay? So if you are selling groceries, okay, like a superstore, you are selling groceries, this is a very competitive market, right? Because many other retailers also sell groceries, right? You have Showbiz, you have Walmart, right? Wholesale, right? You have Safeway, you have different retailing grocery stores, right? So basically, how much a customer can afford to buy a cucumber, right? What the other competitors will sell, right? Those are all important things. So basically, because this market is very competitive, so you want first know that what is the target price, at what price that price is reasonable. I can be competitive, right? When I'm comparing myself to my competitors. So that's one of the pricing strategy. Most commonly is in the very competitive market. The second one is the cost plus pricing. Cost plus pricing. So under this pricing strategy, so basically you want to figure out what is your cost, okay? So you want to first make sure that your price will cover your cost. And then you want to earn certain profit margin, okay? So then that's this plus mean. You have a markup percentage, okay? So if the cost is $1, and I would like to have 20% markup percentage, so I have to price this at $1 plus 20 cents, so $1.2, right? So it's interesting, I looked for the information about Apple. The company Apple's, the gross margin, you know what's gross margin, right? Revenue minus cost of goods sold equals gross margin. As a percentage, you can see that in the this year, 2021, first quarter is close to 45%. Okay, so every $100 of sales, the cost of goods sold is only 55. The other 45 are the gross margin, right? So, and then I want you to take a look at this highlighted zone, right? It's almost like a flat line, flat. It's probably around, the gross margin is pretty stable. It's probably around 38, right? So it make you wondering, right? What is that pricing strategy, right? What is that pricing strategy during that time? This is the cost plus pricing. So this is often happened in a non-competitive market, okay? So I guess, if you want to buy iPhone, you can only buy it from Apple, right? So for sure, I mean, if you are talking about a smartphone, you just want to have a smartphone, and then there are competitors, right? LG, Samsung, right? But if you're talking about iPhone, only from Apple, right? So this is the interesting part. Is this a very competitive market, right? How does this Apple users, they would price this product, right? I know someone who is just so fancy about Apple product, right? They will buy, right? They just buy. So this is the interesting part, for the Apple product, right? Do you think it is in a competitive market or in a non-competitive market? Okay, so if it's a non-competitive market, they are using cost plus pricing, okay? And you also notice that in the initial years, right? When Apple, started, in the 2012, maybe this is when the iPhone is introduced. There's a peak. I forgot which year the smartphone iPhone was introduced, but you can see that they are the different product probably have a different market, right? If you're talking about computers, Mac computers, right, versus Windows, right, PC, in the early 2000s, I think the PC is very, very popular, right? The PC is more popular than than the Mac computer. But over the time, I mean, Apple probably gained more market shares. So yeah, so it's interesting. This is open for interpretation. And then the other one is the life cycle pricing. We also call it from cradle to grave. This would be appropriate for product that is heavily in the research and development, right? So, for example, those pharmaceutical corporations like Pfizer, right? Their product life cycle is quite long, right? They normally take a lot of money for the initial research and development, and once they really have a technique, right, proved to be useful, effective, then they can start having manufacturing, right? And then but before the end of the development stage, they don't even know if they are going to have something successful, right? So in those cases, right, for this type of product, okay, so they use the life cycle, okay? They want to take into all the cost, okay? Because this life cycle will span over probably 3, 4, 5 years, okay? Even longer, maybe. So then the idea is you want to know accumulate all the cost over the period of time, right? And then you want to figure out the pricing. Okay, so what factors will influence the price? Okay, so and you have seen there's this graph, which you're really familiar with, right? If you have taken Econ 1000, microeconomics. Okay, so basically, according to the economic theories, so the price is basically is set at the equilibrium point between the supply and the demand, right? So when the demand, right, and the supply, they are equal, okay, right? So there's one price, okay, there's one price that under that price, the supply and demand are equal. So that's the equilibrium point, okay? So the whole point is if okay, the price is going down, okay, if the price is going down, the demand will go up, okay? So this red slope representing the demand line. So that means when price is down, you are going to have more demand, okay? That's just pretty straightforward, right? So the quantity of demand will be down, will be higher, right? So so let's say the steak cost, let's say, I don't know, like $10 a pound, okay? And then maybe at that time, the demand, you know, there are still people who can afford it. So they're, let's say, when it's $10, right? You can in the market, right? The demand, the people who still need steak will be 1,000 pound, right? But when it's $5 per pound, right? When the price dropped by half, right? So then the demand will be higher because more people can afford it, right? So that's the red line. And then the blue line, that's the supply, right? The supply means when the price is higher, okay, the supply is the upward slope. When the price is higher, the supply is increase, right? Because if price is higher, you sell your product at a good price, you are likely to make more money, more margin, right? So then, you know, people are motivated to do this business. And so, but more people do this business, the supply is up, okay? But there's the equilibrium point, okay? There's the equilibrium point. This is the point is at this price, the amount of demand equals to the amount of supplies. So that's perfect, that's equilibrium, okay? So you can see the price is ultimately depend on the demand and supply. Okay, so the three influences are, So when the demand, increase, okay, when the demand increases, you can see we have a new equilibrium here, and this price is P2, and the P2 is higher, okay? So when demand increase, price will be higher, holding the supply constant. So if there's a fixed amount of quantities, items in the market, and more people want it, and the price will be going up, okay? And then if the supply dropped, okay, so let's see here, now we are holding the right line constant, okay? So there is fixed amount of demand, but you have less suppliers, okay? The amount of amount of items, there's insufficient supply in the market because there are less suppliers now. And you can see that the price is up, right? The price is up. Okay, so when demand going up, and all the supply going down, so this is all driving up the price, okay? So the three factors would be customer, competitor, competitor and cost. Customer will be an influence. Why? Because customer affects the demand, right? Customer affects the demand, okay? So for example, the students, right? The students, you are affecting the enrollment of universities, right? So if there are less students, right? Less students, that means there are less demand, right? For the university education. The competitors. Competitors are the people who are providing the same or similar service. So these are the suppliers, right? These are the suppliers. Hello? I'm sorry, there's a phone call in. And then what the competitors are doing, right? That is gonna affect the price, right? So, and the last one is the cost, right? If the cost is lower, okay, then you can supply more, right? You're gonna have greater supplies, right? So that's how the cost play in a factor. Okay, so ultimately the price must cover all the cost in the long run and produce a profit. Otherwise, there's no point to make a product. Okay, so I hope you understand why the customers, the competitors, and the cost can influence the price. Okay, for short-run pricing normally refers to decisions, the time period within 1 year. Okay, the time period in 1 year. So for example, you may have a special order. So this is only one-time only special order, right? So it won't affect you in the long term. It does not affect you in the long term. It just within 1 year, within one specific year, there's one special order, okay? The market price is 200. They wish to have a special order for cheaper price, right? Maybe 180. Will you take it, right? So that will be a decision. We say this is a short-run pricing decision, right? Okay, and also another scenario would be to adjusting the product mix and output volume in a competitive market. Okay, so again, you want to consider in a competitive market. Okay, so how are you gonna make adjustment, right? The product mix, maybe 20% is the basic version, 80% is the advanced version, or the vice versa, right? So depending on the market, right? So those will be another example. The long run decision, okay, this is a time horizon more than 1 year, okay? So this would be including a decision that you want pricing a product in a major market where there is some leeway in setting price. This is what we talk about. So this is a long run pricing decision, okay? There are some leeway, right? Otherwise, don't even talk about it, okay? So if the market is very competitive, you are using the market-based approach, right? So under this approach, the price charged is based on what customers want, how competitors react, okay? So this would be the grocery retailer store example, right? So, the price you are charging is based on what customers want, okay? So you can't overprice, right? You can't overprice because the customers will go to your competitors for the product or the service. If the market is not competitive, okay? If the market is not competitive, so then you can use the cost-based approach, okay? We talked about the cost-plus approach, right? So in this case, the price charged is based on what it costs to produce, okay? And what kind of return, right? The markup percentage you want to achieve, okay? So for the market-based pricing, you start with a targeted price, okay? You did a survey, if you want to make a bottle of soy sauce, right? Soy sauce. Okay. I think Asian people really like it. You first learn that, okay, this in the market, the other retailers are selling at $2 per bottle, right? So you get that idea, right? That's how much the customers are willing to pay to buy soy sauce, even for those Asian immigrants, right? you need a soy sauce to go with the rice and dumplings, okay? So this price is based on customers' perceived value, and yeah, the Asian immigrants thinks the soy sauce should be just $2 per bottle, right? And also the competitors' pricing, right? So if your competitors price it for $1.80, right? And customers are very sensitive to price, right? Okay, so you can see that this will all affect your target price. You know, what's the value perceived by the customer, and how is the pricing by the competitors. Those will all affect your target price, right? Your target price cannot be too much off from this one, right? If you can argue, I'm making a premium, right? I'm making a premium soy sauce. That's fine. You probably will target your price at higher, right? $3, but don't make it 20, right? Yeah. So you could, right? So I'm thinking it must be not just the soy sauce. Must be, you know, has to be substantially at lots of other values, right? So that's the target price. And then the target cost. So then you know this is your target price. And you know what's the percentage margin you want to achieve. Then you can work backward to calculate what's your target cost per unit. So in this decision, it's really important that you understand the market, okay? Especially understand the customers and the competitors. The reason why the competitors is important because the competition is always driving the price downward, right? So, which is a good thing, right? When we have you know, different like secular companies, they would compete. They would have a price war, right, to compete for customers. So that's good, right? Because we can get more data for cheaper price, right? And the product are on the market for a shorter period of time. So you have less time. You are not allowed to make mistakes, pricing mistakes, because you can lose the market share and the profitability, right? So when there's a product in the internal market, right? Let's say now we have a, you know, 20 gigabyte cellular phone plan to the market. All the companies is right now selling this plan, right? So make sure you got your pricing correct. Otherwise, you will lose that share market share. And also customers are pretty smart, right? Nowadays, information age, customers have access to a lot of information, right? How many people go to chapters just to look around, right? They don't buy the books, right? They look around and they find something they like. They first check on Amazon, right? They check how much this book is sold at Amazon, right? And if it's the same price, they probably just buy it from chapter. But if it's like $5, $10 lower at Amazon, they probably just will click a button to order it on Amazon, right? So customers are very knowledgeable. They really demand quality product at low prices. Okay, same price, same product. I want to go with a lower price. So 5 steps in developing target price and target cost. First, develop a product and choose a target price and work backward to figure out what's your target cost per unit. And then you want to perform a cost analysis, okay? Cost analysis means what is variable, what is fixed, what is manufacturing, what is period, right? What is product cost, what is period cost, and what is the level of the production, right? All those stuff. And last thing is you want to perform a value engineering to achieve the target cost, okay? So what is a value engineering? This is maybe a new concept. So value engineering is a systematic evaluation of all aspects of the value chain with the objective of reducing cost while improving quality and satisfying customer need, okay? So when you talk about a service or product, we are talking something called a value chain, right? Because lots of stages of activities are involved, right? From the start to the end of delivering the product, right? So then all these activities may cost, maybe there are costs, right? Distributed over this value chain, right? So value engineering is to evaluate all these aspects of the value chain to reduce cost, okay? To reduce cost without sacrificing the quality, okay? So what's the value analysis teams? Okay, so this may be the top management experts, okay? This will be evaluate the design innovations, okay? Modifications on all business functions of the value chain. So there is a team to do this value analysis, okay? What is called cost incurrence, okay? So describes when a resource is consumed or benefit foregone to meet a specific objective. So this one actually in plain language just means the cost actually incurred, okay? The cost actually incurred. Locked in cost, okay? So these are the costs have not been incurred yet, but based on the decision that have already been made, you know this cost will be incurred in the future. So at this point, okay, at this stage, that cost has not actually been incurred, but because of the decisions has been made up to this point, this cost will incur. Okay, so therefore, that will be called the future cost. Okay, those are the locked-in cost. Okay, so for example, at this point, you haven't paid any tuition fee, right? You haven't paid any tuition fee to CPA Alberta, right? To CPA Western School of Business, right? But at this point, you have already made a decision that you are pursuing a CPA career, right? You signed the contract with your parents, okay? So that based on that decision, okay, the tuition hasn't occurred yet. You haven't paid the CPA school, Western School of Business yet. But based on this decision, now those costs, tuition cost, is called the locked-in tuition cost. It's gonna incur after you graduate from university. You started that program. And you have learned about value-added activities and non-value-added activities, right? So if there's a cost associated with a value-added activity, so that's the value-added cost, right? The cost associated with the non-value-added activities, those are the non-value-added costs, right? Okay, so this picture shows you the contrast between the cost incurrence, the red line, versus the locked-in cost in the blue line. Okay, so you can see horizontally, we are talking about the value chain. Okay, the value chain functions. So from the very beginning, the first step is to do some research and the development, right? And you design. You have, let's say, after doing research and development, you have good, you have a patent, right? And then with the patent, you design a product. So at this point, the cost, cumulative cost per unit is actually about $70 per unit. So these are the costs actually incurred, okay? However, there are more costs locked here. The reason why, because you have made a decision at this point after the design of the product that you are going to manufacture this product, right? Right? Otherwise, why would you pay the design fee, right? Why would you get a designer? Costs a lot of money, right? So you already make the decision, you are going to manufacture the product. So here, even though the manufacturing haven't started yet, but it's locked, okay? So now with that, the locked in, this one, the cost is already $780, okay? $780. And then the next stage is the manufacturing. So after the manufacturing, you can see here, okay? The actual cost is $780, okay? Because that's the logged in cost at this stage, and that's actually incurred. But there are, the cost of the logged in cost is higher. Why? Because here you already manufactured, okay? You already manufactured some of the product. You haven't distributed yet, but the fact that you have manufactured this product and you have already made a decision to send them to a retailer. So that's going to incur some distribution cost, right? So that's distribution cost that hasn't incurred at this point yet, but it's going to happen, right? So that's why here, this is the locked in cost here. And then this is the end. In the very end, the total cost is 900, over 900, okay? So you can see that the locked in cost is always on top of the actual cost, right? And that's what it should be, right? Because the locked-in cost, including the cost actually happened, and also the cost haven't happened, but will happen, will happen because the decision has been made. Okay. So this is one example for the cost-based pricing or cost-plus pricing. We talked about this already. So we give one example here. So suppose that the full product cost per unit is $7.20. The markup is 12%. So 12% times $7.20, that's 86.40. So the prospective selling price will be my full cost plus my markup. So that's $806.40. Okay, so what is the, so when you set the target rate, okay, target rate of return on investment with ROI, return on investment, so that's defined by the target operating income divided by invested capital. Okay, this is your target return on investment. What would be the cost base when you talk about? So this would be a reference point for that markup, right? For the markup. So what about the cost base reference? So you can use different costs, right? For example, variable manufacturing cost, variable cost, manufacturing cost, or the full cost. Full cost means the absorption cost, right? In last week, we have learned how to calculate absorption cost. So the full cost is used by most of the firms because it allows for full recovery of all costs of the product. It allows for price stability, okay? Because the full cost is absorption cost, the cost will be relatively stable. And it's also a simple approach. It's quite simple. So full cost is used by most of the firms. Okay, now let's work together on one question. Let's work together on one question. So this company makes candy bars for vending machines and sells them to vendors in cases of 30 bars. Although company makes a variety of candy, the cost differences are insignificant. The cases all sell for the same price. The company has a total capital investment of $10 million. It expects to sell 400,000 cases of candy next year. They require a 12% targeted return on investment. Expected costs for next year's are variable production, $3 per case, variable marketing, distribution, $2 per case, fixed production, 400,000, fixed marketing, distribution, 700,000, other fixed cost, 500,000. This company prices the cases of candy at full cost plus markup. Okay, so this is their strategy. Full cost plus markup to generate profit equal to the target return on capital. Okay, first, what is the target operating income? Okay, so in this question, we learned the total capital investment is 10 million. So the investor has put in $10 million into a company. They want to achieve 12% of targeted return every year. So what's the 12% of 10 million? Okay, so 12% of 10 million is 1.2 million. So the target operating income is 1.2 million. Only this number can provide a 12% return for the investors. And the second question is, what is the selling price the company needs to charge to earn the target operating price. What is the selling price? Need to charge to earn this target operating income. And also calculate the markup percentage on full cost. So here you work backward, okay? The operating income is 1.2. We want to make 1.2 million. We know the fixed cost, 400 plus 700 plus 500. So this is the here that information. Fixed product cost 400, fixed marketing distribution cost 700, and other fixed cost 500. Okay, so that's where it's coming from. So then my operating income add my fixed cost, so that equals contribution margin to 2.8 million. So 2.8, that's my contribution margin, right? Contribution margin 2.8 million. We also know the variable cost is 3 for the manufacturing and 2 for marketing and distribution. And they, for that year, for next year, they are going to produce and sell 400,000 units. So this variable cost is 2 million, okay? So contribution margin is 2.8. My variable cost is 2 million. So my revenue has to be 4.8. So you can see I'm working backward to figure out what's my total revenue should be. Okay, so my selling price per unit would be 4.8 million divided by the unit of sold is 400,000. So for each unit, that's $12 per unit. The target profit is 1.2 million for, over 300,000 units. So for each unit, the targeted profit is $3. So the full cost is $12, the selling price minus the targeted profit, so $9. So the markup percentage is the target profit divided by the full cost. So 3 divided by 9, 1/3, that's the 33.33%, okay? So that is the information how I calculated, okay? The last question is, this company is considering increasing the selling price from 12 to 13 per case, assuming the production price decreased by 10%. That's what happened. When you increase the price, the demand will be down, right? The demand will be down. So therefore, the production and sales all decreased by 10%. So calculate the company's return on investment. Is increasing the selling price a good idea? So we use the same format. So if we increase the price to $13, the production and the sales price decreased by 10%, which is 40,000. So the production and the sales will be dropped from 400,000 to 360,000 units. And this times $13 per unit. So the total revenue will be 4.68 million. And the variable cost is $5 per unit times 360,000. So it's 1.8 million. My contribution margin will be the difference, 2.88 million. Fixed cost will be the same, 1.6 million. So my operating income is 1.28 million. Oh, it's even better, 1.28. So my return on investment is 1.28 divided by 10, right? The investment is 10 million. So this is the 12.8%. This is more than 12%. So it's a good idea to increase the selling price. Okay, lastly, we're talking about the product life cycle pricing. This is all conceptual stuff. We will just walk through these concepts. Okay, so the product life cycle begins with the initial R&D, right, on the product, and it's end with the customer support is withdrawn, right? That's the end of the service, right, the product. The costing, the life cycle costing tracks, accumulates the actual cost attributable to each product from the start to the finish, also called cradle to grave, womb to tomb costing. So here is one example. This is one example, okay? So they have 3 columns here, which are the 3 scenarios, okay? Under the scenarios, the difference is the selling price. 400 per package, 480, 600. So these 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, sorry, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. The difference are their selling price. And the sales quantity, when the price is higher, the sales quantity will be lower. Sales quantity in units will be lower from 5,000 to 4,000 to 2,500. And so you can see they calculated the life cycle revenue, okay? So by the way, this sales quantity in units is for their whole life cycle, right? Whole life cycle. And the research design cost, this will be all the same, regardless how many you are going to sell, right? This is all the same. This is actually, this will be the sunk cost, right? This will be the cost incurred prior to the production. Regardless how many units you are selling, this will be all the same. The production cost and the marketing cost, distribution cost, customer service cost, these costs are all mixed cost. It has a variable component and a fixed component, okay? So then based on the information, we know these sales numbers, okay? And then we are using this formula provided. We are able to calculate all the cost. And then you can figure out the total life cycle cost and life cycle operating income. Okay, so other important considerations in pricing decisions, the price discrimination, the practice of charging different customer different prices for the same product or service. This one has legal implications. Peak load pricing, the practice of charging a higher price for the same product or service when the demand for it approaches to the physical limit of the capacity to produce that product or service, right? So this would be like when you book for the aircraft ticket, right? If you make a reservation 1 year earlier, you would probably get a lower, cheaper price. As the aircraft selling more and more seats, okay? The amount of the seats available, right? Available for selling is getting less and less. So those companies will start increasing the price, right? Increasing the price. Legal dimension of price setting, the price discrimination is illegal, okay? And if the intent is to lessen or prevent competition for customers, okay? So, so basically I charge, once I charge one person $100, and then another person walked into my store, right? And I charge them another 100, and that person said, no, your competitor is charging $60. And then right away you are saying, okay, guess what? I will charge you for 55, right? So that price discrimination is illegal. Predatory pricing is deliberately lowering prices below cost in an effort to drive competitors out of the market and restrict supply and then raising the price. Okay, so let's say in my community, there are two restaurants, two Chinese restaurants. And so we are competing against each other. And then guess what? Let's say I have a lot of money, right? I'm going to open my restaurant to invite everyone to come to my place to eat for free, okay? To eat for free. So then what happened? Nobody will go to the other restaurant. And 1 month or 2 months after, that restaurant has to be closed down, right? And then when that restaurant is gone, and I'm the only one in the community, and guess what? I'm going to raise my price, right? To make it quite expensive, right? To recover the initial lower price loss. Dumping is maybe an international company. They sell a product in Canada at a price below the market value in Canada. So this lower price will really jeopardize the local industry, right? The dumping. This is very vivid, kind of descriptive word to. It's perfect, very fit for this situation, right? Okay, so this is just some of the important terminologies. At least you have learned cost accounting, right? You should know, you have seen these terminologies, right? And environmental sustainability and life cycle costing touch on the increasing social concerns about what constitutes the end of product's life cycle. So it's interesting, right? In terms of, let's say, gasoline, right? Gasoline. So basically, when is the end of the product level? So you also want to consider the environmental loss, right? So when you are thinking about a mineral, right? Think about the oil sand, right? What is the life cycle for that oil sand? Okay, there are some environmental liabilities. You have to clean up the sites, right? A lot of the depleted, right, oil sand sites, you have to be able to clean it, right? So those are the environmental liabilities that is on the company. If you don't do that, there are going to be severe penalties. Okay, so that's it. This is about chapter 13. So I hope that you find it interesting. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.